Welcome to ScrapFest 14. It's hard to believe that we've come as far as we have.
My art, when I look back, first couple of times of doing ScrapFest, of being like, I'm gonna grab some beers and work on it. It was fun and we were doing all that stuff, but I don't think I was making something from my heart. You know, it was just like, I'm doing it. Like, you're putting skills and technical things to work, but is this really a piece, an expression of who I am?
We're all struggling with something. We all have something that we're struggling with, and art helps us.
One of the things that I love most about ScrapFest is this like family community of artists first and foremost. It's the people that do it. Like kind of the art for art's sake kind of mentality is like, that's why people come and do this. Your only constraints are like, here's the dimensions, here's the time frame, here's what you get. But then other than that, do whatever you want.
Metal art holds a special place in my heart. I have ScrapFest memories throughout my entire childhood. I do remember holding pieces together and tacking pieces together when I was like 6 or 7. Every time I smell corroded metal and rust, I always think of that. Like, it brings me back to that childhood memory. And that's kind of when I fell in love with building stuff.
Andrew has never had a full shop to himself. And he started the very first year of ScrapFest, and the second year I met Andrew, both of us were working in another shop. He came down and he goes, hey, I'd really like to do more stuff. You're capable of doing more stuff with your equipment than I ever could. Could we do a team? And so actually that year there was 3 of us. And we teamed up and did a couple projects, and then after that, Andrew and I just kept going with it. He needed a shop to work in, and I really needed somebody to help me grow more creatively. Well, bringing Andrew in has a whole different skill set than I do. I'm a welder. I was a journeyman welder. I was a certified weld inspector. I've done all this, but getting to the creative part of it was where both of us were trying to head. And I knew things he didn't, he knew things I didn't. We both grown through it.
One of the most difficult things, like looking back, is I wish I would have spoke up for myself more of what I really wanted to do, like post high school, because I really wanted to go to art school. Like back then it was like, well, if you graduate high school, you have to go get a 4-year degree. Like if you ever want to like make money and get a house and do all these things, like you have to go get a 4-year degree, probably like a business degree. I remember seeing all of these students that were like doing art, carrying their like portfolios and their stuff with art. And I was just like, it would just make me feel like, it was like depressing. It's like, I want to do that. But then it was like, no, I probably shouldn't do that because I need to be like, I want to have a family someday and do things like that. And just didn't like, you know, kind of let it just eat away at me.
The reason why ScrapFest is so special to him is because it sets a goal in his mind. He has a vision for it, and when he accomplishes it, it's a feel-good moment. And I think it's always a reminder to him, like, you can never give up. Every day is a new struggle. You're always gonna deal with something. Maybe something doesn't go the way you want. You'd think these 2 pieces would line up or weld or whatever it may be. You'd think it would go a certain way, but it doesn't. So then you have to pivot, and then you have to make a different game plan.
So when I was 21, I got married. My now ex-wife was a senior at State, so we got like married in May of '95. We moved into married housing. She was finishing her senior year. So it's like, you know, you're young, poor, when I have kids. So it's like, what do I do? I need to support a family. So I got, when she was pregnant with our first son, I was working for a company. We sold custom apparel shirts to like grocery store chains, like all over the country. And then that company closed the division. It wasn't profitable. They closed it down. So like, I'm like, have a 6-week-old baby, no job. What am I going to do kind of thing? So it was just like, I just got to like figure something out. So I was like going back, I just got my associates in marketing and management. And I was like figuring out, okay, now I got to go back to school and get a degree so I get a real job, because like trying to do what I want to do is probably not going to I don't think it's going to cut it. And she was working, we're raising a family, and I was like, so I'm looking for a job. It's like, doing things like what's going to go on.
He made sacrifices. He worked multiple jobs to give everything that he could to us while also still working on himself. And I saw him just, go through trial and error of doing different kinds of artwork, because truly that's all he wants to do is make art. But the way reality is, sometimes it's hard to make that dream be your career, just because life is not always like that.
I was like, having young boys, I was like, I should do something fun, in their bedrooms. It's like, I'm here right now, I'm doing this. I'm like, let's make it cool. So I did these like big safari animals, and I was like having a blast doing that. And seeing how excited they were, where they're like, oh my gosh, I got this huge shark on my wall and an elephant, and just, fun stuff like that. And I was like, man, I wish I could just do this. This would be like a great job, because I love doing it, and then I love, the results and just seeing how the boys are reacting to it, which was really cool. Got on the internet, and it was like, oh, this is like a real deal kind of like a thing, and talked to a bunch of people and started booking a lot of projects, and I loved doing that. I needed a job with benefits. And so my buddy was like, hey, my brother, he works at UPS at the airport. They have great benefits. You should apply there. It's early mornings, but it's worth it for all that. I was like, okay, this, 4 boys, 6 and under, like we got to take care of them and do things. And so like we need insurance. So it's like, I took that job. Over time though, the wearing part of it was like getting up at, 3:30 in the morning and going into work, a juggling act of like, I'm getting out of UPS, trying to go do my painting business and doing things. And then you've been doing all this, and this mindset of like, well, in the long run, this will be good, but not so much, so much of how it all, flushed out. It gets kind of dark at times, and I think just how everyone processes that is different. I surely didn't handle some things the way that were beneficial for my marriage and my kids and everything else. From I'd say 2010 to February of 2012, it was like I was kind of running 2 lives. I was alcoholic. My drinking had escalated to the point where it was like, never got a DUI, never got fired, never got this, but I wasn't the best version of myself. And I was dealing with a lot of things in my life where that was like, that became just like a self-medicating way to get through the day.
I could say I'm the fortunate one out of me and my brothers, because since I'm the youngest, it was more so towards the early stage of my life. Like he was there, but sometimes he wasn't always present, like mentally with us. Like we knew he was there, but we were kind of doing our own thing.
But I vividly remember, we got to February of 2012. It was just a simple question of, I'm not going to tell you or ask you about your drinking. I just want to know when you're going to stop lying about it. And it was at that moment where I was like, oh, I'm a liar. Like that, for some reason, like being an alcoholic or a drinker didn't bother me like that, but like it was like that core like of your character, like you're not a truth teller. Like you are a liar. You're doing things, you're living a life, trying to coordinate like, oh, if I go out to eat with my friends and family, I'm not going to order 4 drinks at dinner. So I'll just have cash. And when I go to the bathroom, I'll go by the bar and be like, hey, can you pour me a double real quick? And you do things like that where it's like, this is so important that I'm going to like orchestrate everything around me to keep this going. And half the time other people see it, but you're so like in your own head of like, it's not a problem. I'm not like this person. Like we always have like, well, I'm not that bad because I didn't wreck a car or I didn't get arrested or I didn't, have something bad. But it's like I don't have any horror stories, so it can't be that bad.
He had an ultimatum. It was continue drinking and never see your sons, or drop the drinking so you can see your kids. And my dad went to rehab, he cleaned himself up, and he has stayed on the mental and physical journey of keeping it that way.
Andrew is more abstract. I'm more detailed and concrete. And I think we both moved a little bit towards the center of that. I'm willing to do more things that are more abstract rather than trying to go for just strictly detail. If you look at some of our early works, you can see complete abstract and complete detail in the same piece. Not that it's bad, but we've kind of blended.
I know I can't do everything. That's why like over the last 6 years by working with Jeff and getting it, like, it's like, we shouldn't have to do everything by ourselves. Like, and you do get that synergistic effect of like, oh, a 2-person team is like having a 4-person team.
You have 4 weeks to build this. And I would be fussing and fighting over a detail when he's going, Jeff, that's good enough. Look at the big picture here.
I remember being like maybe the 3rd or 4th day, impatient, sitting in one of my group sessions, being like I'm 38 years old. I have a wife and 4 kids at home. Like, how the hell did I get here? And I remember our facilitator was like, but it's a good thing you are here. Like you're where you're supposed to be.
I think my dad connects with ScrapFest so much because you're giving the metal a second chance, and he was able to have a second chance.
And part of that process of like going to rehab, working a program, seeing a therapist, going through those things, it's like, I'm building a way better version of myself. And this version of myself, I actually like. And it's really visible like in my art.
I think it just hammered down on him that he's like, I have to do this. There is no other option. Because if I want to be the best man, the best dad, the best version of himself, he's like, I gotta stay sober, focus on my art, focus on myself. And he just stuck with it. And I really think it was just day in, day out. The more he hammered on it, it just stayed locked in his brain.
One of the first pieces I did when I was sober for ScrapFest was I did a Phoenix, because I was like, this is like, it's very meaningful of like new life and rising back up. I want my art to be like very representational of like growth and rebirth and restoration and moving forward, because it's like, I love music, but I'm not a singer. I don't play an instrument, so I can't tell my stories in that format. But how do I still communicate and tell my story of change and growth and beauty? I can do it through my art. And so I think making pieces like that to tell like, hey, this could have been discarded at one point, but with the work that you put into it and the discipline in those things, like it can be transformed.
Just being able to take an old piece that someone would just think that's a gear, that's a broken piece, for him to take that and then make it into a whole new life form where you can look at all these small pieces and pinpoint them out, but then when you step back, you're like, this is a whole new piece. Has a whole new life to it. And I think that's where he really got his passion for it, was that turning something old into something new. I think he reflected on himself.
That's what I love about, like, in terms of the overlap of my sobriety and art, is that like stuff that gets discarded still has value. People can look at that pile and be like, those parts suck, they're not worth anything. But then an artist can say like, those parts are great. I'm gonna take those parts with these parts and make this. Taking all those rejects and then putting them together, saying like, look, this whole group of misfit parts is now this cool object. My favorite part of ScrapFest is drop-off day, because that's when all the artists are there bringing the pieces, and you see them before anybody else does. But it's that camaraderie of like, it's like when you like with runners, like when everyone finishes like a big 5K or a marathon. It's like, it doesn't matter if I beat you or you beat me, but like we all just did this thing together.
He had to rebuild himself. He had to basically just stay at it. I mean, he did it for us, and when I was younger, I didn't fully see all those things, but, you know, as I've gotten older and I've talked to him about things, I really am just proud of my dad for being him, for taking care of himself and stepping up to the plate when it was needed. And he's never given up. He's level-headed. He takes good care of him and the people around him. I'm just happy that he's happy.
I know that the combination of my sobriety and being an artist together gives me so much fuel for life.
As he continued with his art, he became a happier person. He became a better dad. He became just overall, I think, a more open version of himself. I think he understood himself more, and I think it's just been awesome to see the art get better, see the detail get better, the passion for it.
Without ScrapFest, I don't know if I would have ever switched over to being a predominantly metal artist and doing the things I do. I probably would have been like, well, I guess I've always done paintings and drawings, so I guess I better try to do that if I want to keep doing art. I don't know where that would have gone. I mean, maybe it would have just been who knows? I know that I will work with metal and as my main medium and 3D art as my main go-to for as long as I can. I hope to be like a 90-year-old dude with like crazy overalls and weird boots in a barn that's like, what's this guy making? I want to be that guy.